Hello, my name is Abigail and welcome back to Polyglot Progress. It is the start of 2022, which means a lot of us are setting New Year's resolutions and goals and quarter 1 plans for our language learning. I love setting goals for my language learning, and I love talking about my progress with my languages and my language goals on this channel, and whenever I do, I find that I get a lot of comments asking about how I do that. And even outside of YouTube, I feel like whenever people learn that I study languages, one of the first things that they say to me is like, oh, I wish I could learn Spanish, or I tried to learn Spanish once, but I just couldn't stick with it. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my tips for sticking to your goals and resolutions, as well as what I'm planning to do this year to stick to mine. I think that sticking to and achieving your goals really starts with setting your goals and setting realistic goals. This doesn't mean that you have to hold yourself back or set really easy goals. I think that setting really hard goals can be great because it can really push you to see what you're capable of doing. But at the same time, having goals and expectations for yourself that are realistic is honestly crucial in making goals that you're actually going to be able to stick to. This is something I really used to struggle with and led to me not sticking with my goals very often, especially when it came to language learning and New Year's. New Year's would roll around, and after a really busy semester where I didn't get a lot of time to work on language learning, I would just feel so much motivation and so much excitement to come back to language learning. And so I would end up setting those really idealistic and unrealistic goals because they were things that I thought that I wanted, instead of focusing on things that were actually realistic to my life and my lifestyle and the small changes I could be making. When we're setting goals, especially for the new year, it can be really easy to get caught up in really long-term goals, things that we would like to be doing in an ideal world, and the goals that other people are setting. But creating goals that don't align with your current lifestyle or current responsibilities, or are just nearly impossible to achieve, are going to be working against you and are going to make it really, really difficult to stick to them. By making realistic goals that not only take the ideal into account, but also where you're at right now and what you are capable of doing, and even potentially starting smaller and easing your way into some of your bigger goals, you'll take away a lot of the process of actually actively trying to stick to your goals and instead make it come a lot more naturally. Similarly, it's important to remember that once you set goals, you can, and you actually should, still be flexible with them. I plan my language learning on a year basis, a quarterly basis, and a monthly basis, which gives me a lot of time to break down my goals into smaller pieces and also adjust them as needed. It makes sure that they're always still things that I want to be working on, and also make sure that they're all still realistic for where my life is at, because my life is always changing. Sticking to your goals is great, and is obviously the point of this video, but that doesn't have to mean sticking with the same goal you set previously forever. Adjusting your goals, whether that's changing your goal, adding something, or making it slightly more manageable, isn't just giving up on your goal. It's helping you to make sure that the things you're working on are worth sticking to, and that they're things that are actually helping you achieve the results that you want to see. Because that's what a goal is. It's something that you want to do for whatever reason, so you can see whatever result. And if you stop wanting that thing, or it stops giving you that result, it stops really being a goal. And at that point, sticking to it because it was a goal that you once had just holds you back from the goals you have now. It's also important when you're just getting started with a goal, or when you're working on building a new habit or routine, to be really flexible and forgiving with yourself. If you fail a habit-based goal, like studying every single day 10 days into the year, that doesn't mean that you have to completely give it up. I know a lot of people will try to have a streak, and when they lose it a week into the year, they're just like, okay, I'll start again next year. But you don't have to. You can just pick it up and keep going. I previously used to be really strict with goals like this, and it did the opposite of what I wanted. It did not help me stick to my goals at all. In fact, I almost always ended up abandoning those goals, because once I failed, I just gave up. And if I didn't fail them, it was really easy to get burnt out because I was so stressed about all of these rules that I had put in place on myself. So if you're trying to study for 30 minutes every single day, and you can only study for 10 minutes one day, it doesn't mean that you have to say that you failed the goal and have to start again next year. It also doesn't mean that you even need to adjust your goal to say 10 minutes every day. If something like that happens, or a goal doesn't seem realistic anymore, just adjust it, and you don't have to be mad at yourself for doing that. We're all human, and honestly, I think taking care of yourself and avoiding burnout is as much of a part of sticking to your goals as discipline is. That said, discipline is super important when it comes to sticking to your goals. And the thing that I have found the most crucial for being disciplined is having structure and accountability. Having a slightly more structured routine when it comes to my language learning has taken away some of that kind of mental aspect of discipline, of needing to get myself to study when I'm feeling tired or I just don't want to, because it's just a part of my routine and a part of my life. And I especially feel like language lessons have been really helpful for me because not only do they give me that kind of routine and structure, but I also get an added level of accountability and motivation from talking with a tutor or talking with other people in the class. Having a consistent routine and schedule when it came to my language lessons last year was honestly probably the number one thing that helped me to achieve my goals. So this year I'm definitely using it again as my number one way to help me stick to and achieve my goals, especially with German. This year for German, I'm really focused on building my confidence and overcoming a bit of a mental block when I speak, improving my vocabulary, and also improving my cases when I speak. And one of the ways I'm planning on doing that is being consistent with my language lessons throughout the year, but also I'm planning on taking a lesson in German with Lingoda every single day for a month. I have been really enjoying taking German lessons with Lingoda, so I'm super excited that they're sponsoring today's video and also that I'm going to be taking way more German lessons with them this upcoming year. A lot of you might already be familiar with them, but for those of you who aren't, Lingoda is an online language school that offers 24/7 courses taught by certified native speakers. One really cool thing that initially drew me to Lingoda is the language sprint that they offer. It's a language challenge where for the sprint you take 15 lessons a month and the super sprint you take 30 lessons a month for the whole length of the challenge, which is 60 days or 2 months. And at the end of it, if you've successfully taken every single lesson, you get 50% of your money back for the sprint and 100% of your money back for the super sprint. So basically you can take 60 free language lessons, which is great. But what stands out to me the most is how great this sprint is for building accountability and discipline and routine in your language learning. Taking a lesson every single day is a great way to build up the habit of using your target language every single day, and it's also a great way to get into a routine and habit of working towards your goal, whether that's building your vocabulary or building confidence with speaking or improving your grammar. Like I said, I'm really working on improving my speaking confidence, my vocabulary, and my grammar in German, and I know that I can say those things and that it would be really easy for me to just not end up working on them very much because I just don't feel like it. So not only is having a lesson every day really going to help me work on my German speaking confidence because it's going to give me a lot of experience speaking, but it's also going to ensure that I am working on improving my vocabulary, improving my grammar, improving my speaking for at least an hour every single day, and it's going to help me build a habit so that I can continue to work on those things after the challenge ends. I've seen a lot of progress just from the Lingoda lessons I've taken previously, so I'm honestly really excited to see what happens when I take 30 more, and I take 30 more in such a condensed period of time. But I know that even more than that, this is going to help me to build a habit of using German, so even after I finish these 30 days, I'm going to be continuing to work on those things. Plus, these are going to be great for accountability. I know that I'm going to be taking group lessons, and I think group classes are great for motivation since you're exposed to other people that are passionate about your target language and you can hear why they're learning and what they've been working on and have it influence what you're doing as well. I think that the Lingoda language sprint specifically is a really amazing way to hold yourself accountable with sticking to your goals because it has that financial aspect. Not only do you have all the accountability that comes from meeting with a tutor, meeting with a class, having language classes scheduled out every day, but you also have this ability to earn back 50 to 100% of the money that you put towards the classes just by showing up. I think especially if you're having trouble with discipline and motivation, having something like that that is kind of an external factor is really great to kind of help you build that discipline and motivation until it kind of comes back. So if your goal is to get started or to improve your English, business English, Spanish, French, or German this year, I highly recommend Lingoda and I highly recommend the language sprint because lessons are offered 24/7 and you get to build your own course and decide what topics and what types of lessons you want to take. It's really easy to find a way to build it into your schedule and give yourself that kind of structure and accountability even if you have a super busy life. The lessons are really fun, really informative, really pleasant. As much as I feel like I've gained a lot from the classes, I've honestly just really enjoyed them as well. 30 classes in a month sounds like a lot, and honestly it is, but I have enjoyed them so much previously that I'm honestly just so excited to get to be a part of 30 more classes. If you do decide to join the sprint, you can use the link down below for $25 or 20 euros off of your deposit. Plus, if you end up successfully completing the challenge, you can get 50 to 100% of that back. back. Also, if you're taking German classes, we might see each other. So please excuse my cases while I continue to work on them. Another place you can find accountability and share your progress outside of language classes is online. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and probably other social media sites have really big communities of language learners sharing their goals and their progress. And it can be a great place to just quickly share the things that you're working on and find accountability partners without actually needing to live near anyone that's interested in language learning. And if you just want to hold yourself accountable, I think that tracking your habits and your progress towards your goals is a great way to do that. I personally really like to use bullet journaling because it allows me to see if I'm actually keeping up with the habits that I set out to, and also makes it really easy for me to take a look at my bigger overall year goals and kind of break those down when it comes to quarters and months, and just make sure that I'm constantly working on my goals and sticking to them. Another way to remind yourself to work on and stick to your goals outside of having a structured routine is to combine your new habits and your goals with habits you already have. Whether or not you have a consistent daily routine, you definitely have habits that you do every day, every week, every month. One really simple way that I've done this is with laundry. While it may not be on the same day or at the same time every week, I do have to do laundry every week. So while I fold or put away my clothes, I usually tend to watch something, which is a habit that just kind of developed naturally, but recently I have made sure that I am now doing that in one of my target languages. In 2022, I really need to work on improving my Spanish listening comprehension, so I'm planning to use the time where I fold laundry to listen to a Spanish podcast or audiobook or watch a Spanish TV show. And by connecting that goal to a habit I already have, I won't have to think about incorporating Spanish listening comprehension into my life so much because it will just naturally be there. And I'm guaranteeing that at least once a week I will be spending a little bit of time working towards that goal. And you can also use the same idea or approach to work on replacing your negative habits with working towards your goals. Last year, I spent way more time on my phone than I ever have before, just kind of mindlessly scrolling. So this year, I am trying to replace the time that I would spend on my phone just kind of scrolling around social media or the internet or whatever with working on my goals of expanding my vocabulary in my target languages and reading more. So whether you are taking a positive or a neutral habit and combining that with your goal, or replacing a negative habit you have with your goal, connecting your goals to things that you already do consistently is going to make it way easier for you to be consistent with sticking to your goal and make sure that it's something you stick with in the long run. And lastly, another mindset thing that seems small but is so important is just to remember why you started and see how far you've come. Establishing new habits and building discipline when it comes to sticking to your goals is difficult, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it can be really, really easy to start to feel frustrated or like you're making no progress at all. But sort of going back to what I said earlier, being hard on yourself or feeling frustrated or like you're not doing enough is not going to help you stick to your goals. It's just going to lead to you feeling frustrated or burnt out or take away any desire to actually work on achieving those goals. I found that looking back at the progress I've already made towards a goal really helps me to continue to want to work on that goal because I see how far I've come and I feel really good about that, and it encourages me to see how far I can go before the next time I check in. It's one of the reasons I love planning quarterly because I can see each quarter all of the progress I've made towards my goals, and I just feel excited about working towards the next quarter and the next part of the year. Instead of feeling like I'm just sticking with things because I have to, because I set them at the start of this year, or feeling frustrated because I feel like I'm sticking to the goals but seeing no progress just because I can't objectively see the results right now. And you can do that in a lot of ways. You can have quarterly check-ins, you can write journal entries and flip back and look at them, you can look at old notebooks, you can record videos of yourself speaking and look back at them later, you can ask a tutor for a progress report. There's so many different ways to measure your progress and see how far you've come, but however you like to do it, I think it is really important to see how far you're coming and use that to motivate you to continue to stick to the goals. And along with that, I think it's equally important to remember why you set the goals to begin with, especially as we move away from New Year's or away from a start of a quarter, away from whenever you set the goals. It can be really easy to get caught up in the goal itself, like learn X number of new words, and forget why you set that goal to begin with. Taking a step back and reminding yourself that while your goal for the year might be to learn X number of words, your real motivation for doing that is to learn the language so that way way you can communicate with family will really help to just bring back your motivation and encourage you to continue to stick with those goals. Plus, going back to what I said earlier, it may show you that it may be time to adjust those goals to reflect what you actually want. So those are the things that I have found have really helped me with sticking to my language goals and also just sticking to my other goals outside of language learning. I hope that if you are learning an additional language for the first time this year or have been having trouble sticking to your goals in the past, that these help. I'm going to link 2 videos that I made previously in the description that I think also might be helpful. One of them is on how and why I set goals, and the other one is on how to create and then stick with a consistent routine. Slightly different topics, but I feel like if you've had trouble sticking to your goals in the past, they might also be things that will help you this year. And there will also be a link to sign up for the next Lingo to Language Sprint. If you use that link down below, you will get $25 or 20 euros off of your deposit. And again, if you complete the whole challenge, you can get 50 to 100% of that back. So if you're learning French, English, German, or Spanish, it's a really great way to start off the year with a lot of progress and start off the year with a lot of accountability. I'd love to know any other tips you have for sticking to your goals, or if you're someone who has been struggling with sticking to your goals, the kinds of things that have given you the most trouble in the past. I will see you next Wednesday, and remember, practice makes progress.